What's going on, boxing fans? I'm back here with another video here set for you guys. Gonna be talking about and going into depth of the fights that I want to make if I was the Turki Al-Sikh, the matchmaker of boxing around the world. This is going across the street. Doesn't matter any type of matchup that I personally want to see and should be made done in the year 2025. Gonna start off with a banger for this video. Obviously, if you can see pictured above, I have Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. There's no other better time, in my opinion, to make this fight. These guys are both coming off losses. Maybe Anthony wants to come off a nice little bounce back win into his career, get his confidence back to where he needs to go to. But this is honestly for the reins of who is the second best heavyweight in the division as of right now. Both of these guys lost twice to Alexander Usyk. Joshua getting dominated in the first fight. In the second fight, he had a lot more success, but he still lost. And then the two fights, the very close two fights against Tyson Fury that Alexander Usyk had with him. These guys have both been defeated by each other. No real belt on the line, kind of just pride for Britain. You put it on in Wembley. It sells a lot of tickets. It's still a lot of money. Still big names. Moving on to the next fight that I would definitely make, or fights, excuse me, that I would make. Obviously, you see pictured David Morrell and David Benavidez up here, and you're thinking, well, this fight has already been booked. We're going to get it February 1st. Highly anticipated, something that you really want to see. I mean, two heavy hitters and knockout artists that are ready to be able to knock each other out in the light heavyweight division after they just came from super middleweight. But the reason I have them pictured, already, yes, confirmed that they're going to fight, is because I would want to have them in a carousel. I would want the winner to obviously face the winner of the rematch between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol, and the loser to actually go ahead, unless the loser is Artur Beterbiev and you get the trilogy fight. But if Beterbiev were to win the rematch and he be 2-0 against Dmitry Bivol, I would definitely love to see the loser of that David Benavidez and David Morrell fight go against the loser, who would obviously be Dmitry Bivol, to then get, these four guys tangled in with each other, get another big name opponent that you obviously can put together with this light heavyweight division to really carry it on further. Moving on to the next fight that I would go on to is obviously the unification of the light heavyweight class. Obviously, it's already under Turki Al-Sikh, so this one is pretty much easy to be able to get done. Gilberto Ramirez has the majority of the belts in the light heavyweight division, but the most talented, sought-after prospect, or can't even really be called a prospect because he is the IBF champion in the cruiserweight division, Jai Opatai. He looks like he's the guy. He looks like he's going to be able to take over the reins into this fight. And you have Gilberto, who's taken over the other belts and the other companies, the other, reigns that they have with WBO, WBA, and WBC. And this would definitely get finally the, another certified unification bout in the cruiserweight. Maybe if Alexander Usyk sees that there's already a unification in the cruiserweight, he was the previous, unified champion in the cruiserweight division, could be able to come down and definitely be a fight I would definitely want to see as well. Another fight that I definitely want to see in the 168 division is Caleb Plant versus Edgar Berlanga. These two guys have been going at it on social media. More so, Caleb has been taunting and, getting his licks out there about Edgar Berlanga, kind of him running away from Caleb. But there's no real other big fight and big name fight that you can be able to put out there, even though these guys are kind of across the street. But you had Canelo, who was fighting Edgar Berlanga, who's kind of, the zone. He's been on ESPN. He's been with Bob Arum and those boys. But I would definitely put Jaime Munguia in this mix, but he already got knocked out. He's definitely looking for the rematch to get that loss back. So I don't know if he's going to be in the name or put his hat into the ring in, this type of area as of right now. But these two guys are kind of on the same similar schedule. They both lost to Canelo. They both had, pretty decent showings against Canelo. They're already kind of big names in this division. And it just seems to be able to have the matchup really made, tailored for these two guys. Another matchup that I definitely want to get certified is the guy picture up above. If you don't know him, obviously, he's kind of a prospect coming into his own. Puerto Rico's own Xander Zayas, a guy that's going to possibly be looked in the future as the best Puerto Rican fighter in the world as of right now. Has a lot of talent, is still very green. Again, is still kind of a prospect, but he showed some balls. He kind of needs to step up into the ranks of where he needs to be and get more fights. He has more experience, so get more higher class type of fights for him in his career. He said that he accepted the Virgil Ortiz fight. So since he did, and Virgil Ortiz is now fighting Israel Madrimov, why not fight the guy that literally just fought Virgil Ortiz, gave him a hell of a fight, took him to a very, very close, I should have been a split decision. Sergey Boachuk had a dominant performance against, albeit a last-minute replacement of a fighter. Forgot the dude's name, but he dominated him completely, showed off his class and the type of fighter that he really is. I wouldn't say he's kind of a gatekeeper in the division that Xander Zayas and these guys are in, but Xander wants that step up. This is a tremendous step up to put his hat in the ring to be able to get those type of fights that he really wants in his career. And speaking of Virgil Ortiz says that he really wanted to have this fight with Jaron Butenis on that card with Beterbiev and Bivol too. It wasn't able to happen. Jaron Ennis maybe be running, maybe be ducking, but they're both under the same umbrella on the zone. Kind of both, been dealing with Eddie Hearn and stuff and things like that. These two guys have inevitably have to run into each other. Tremendous young talent displayed by these two guys. You have the Mexican crowd, you have the African American crowd, you mix them in together. The talent that these two guys possess, obviously they're hungry. I think Virgil Ortiz is a little bit bumped up. I think he's in 147 if I'm not mistaken. Excuse me. Virgil Ortiz is in 140. You have Jaron Butenis 147. He's been talking about moving up to 154. He's been talking about he's been chasing the Crawford fight, which is a big name and obviously would be a great fight, honestly, if that were to happen. But as of right now, that doesn't seem that's where Crawford's leaning to. He's looking for bigger names, legacy, more money, and that's kind of not where Jaron Butenis is as of right now in his career. He needs more names. He needs bigger names. He needs real names to be able to have on his resume to say, like, damn, he actually beat him or he fought him and it was a crazy close fight. These two guys carried tremendous power, and it would be a tremendous fight. Moving on to the next fight that I definitely want to make for 2025, the rematch between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. A lot of controversy, a lot of social media talk. The PED talked about, Ryan Garcia potentially having stuff in the system pertaining to Ostarine. But regardless of that being the fact, the performance that he had against Devin Haney, I think kind of shows the level of type of talent that, still possesses in his body, that being Ryan Garcia, and Devin Haney kind of being asleep at the wheel. I think a more focused and a better performing Devin Haney. I mean, you've seen it throughout the fight. He had a lot of success, especially using his boxing and backing Ryan Garcia back, but still just the tremendous power and light speed technique that Ryan Garcia carries. I think it's still going to be a problem for Devin Haney, regardless if he still trains the way that he needs to be able to and come in zone focus for this fight. I still think he still has problems, and I think that this will definitely answer a lot of questions of whether the PEDs were the reason that Ryan came in, and him being overweight and him not worrying about all this and the chaos that he was creating on social media and throughout all these things. And if Devin Haney could be able to shut up the haters and actually prove that O is real. Moving on to the next fight that I want to be able to talk about. I'm not going to be going into super depth about it because I wrote it down in my notebook, and I swear to God, doing my research on it, I found out that they actually booked this fight. So Keyshawn Davis is finally going to have some type of step up in his career. Most of the dudes that he fights, I'm not going to say they've been cans. They've been kind of easy competition, just showcases for him to be able to show up. But Denis Berinchik, the Ukrainian, great pedigree, simplistic, fundamental boxing, is on par to where it needs to be. Fought Emmanuel Navarrete, did what he needed to do. It was kind of a performance, but he did win the fight. And I think this will definitely be a step up for Keyshawn Davis that he definitely needs. The next fight that I want to be able to make, Gervonta Davis, I want him to fight somebody. I want him to fight a name. I mean, he's going to be fighting Lamont Roach, which I think is going to be actually a pretty decent fight. I think it's going to be okay. But Roach is not a big name, and I think that's what you kind of need for Javante Davis, for him and his legacy. You kind of need bigger names. You need the Tiafimo Lopez, who might even be, in a higher ranking division, to kind of be my of an outreach, but maybe a Ryan Garcia rematch. Devin Haney's always in the names, and him being lingering, and Gervonta definitely needs somebody that I think that he can be able to put again on his resume, again like a Ryan Garcia or other type of fighters that he's been able to put on his career. People like Shakur Stevenson. Uh, I think that would be a tremendous fight. I think it'd be a hard fight to definitely make, and I think Shakur is definitely not ready for that type of fight yet. But Shakur and Javante, I think, is always going to be something that's going to be in the making, in the rumors, and I think we'll eventually get it. I don't know if we'll get it 2025, but that's something that I'm wishing on my wish list, that we can definitely have that. But if we don't get that, definitely something for Shakur to have, a better resume, something to have on his name. Yeah, he has Oscar Valdez, Jamel Herring. He has dudes here and there that are, decent names, but he has not a real big name that needs to be on his resume. And I think that, maybe the loser between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, I think, is another big matchup that they can be able to make. My most anticipated fight, though, is absolutely Junto Nakatani versus Naoya Inoue. I'm not huge in the Asian market. I'm not super big in the Japanese and all this other stuff. But these two guys are absolute monsters in their divisions. Nakatani's in a lower weight class, but I think there was a rumor or something said about Naoya Inoue saying that if Nakatani beats his brother in a fight, that he would definitely welcome that challenge to him and eventually fight him. But I think this is definitely something to make, because these both guys, they're just clearing out their divisions. Everybody that they seemingly get into is getting out of there early, or at least in the mid rounds, and they're making it look very, very easy. And I mean, these two names, I mean, they're both in the same region, both in the same place. I think it would be a tremendous fight in a tremendous market. Maybe not, eastern side board of where it is in the United States, but in a level, if you're a boxing head, if you're not a casual, if you're a diehard boxing fan, this is definitely one of the biggest fights that needs to happen, that will happen, I hope, in 2025. Also, if you want to, you can definitely put in the name of the ring for these guys, Jesse Bam Rodriguez, even though he's in a lower weight class than Nakatani, which would be a stretch. And now the last fight to definitely talk about, uh, Canelo versus Terrence Crawford. I have it on here because it's Canelo versus Terrence Crawford. It's a big names, big legacy type of fight. These two guys are tremendous in boxing, and they're pound for pound, in my opinion, one of the best fighters in the world. I think Canelo should definitely be there as well, even though recently he's been kind of, nitpicking, but he's been doing what he needs to do with the nitpicking, because he is Canelo. He is the big name. He gets his say and what he needs to do. But fighters like Munguia, the dude that he fought in Mexico, I didn't even know his name, but he also fought Munguia, Berlanga, guys like that. Those are, interesting, younger, hungry fighters that are wanting to be able to take the throne from Canelo. But we already know that Canelo's going to win that fight. And you have Terrence Crawford on the tremendous high of getting that another undisputed crown in the welterweight division, defeating Errol Spence Jr. handedly. Then, he kind of does this thing where he fights once a year. Has the fight against Madrimov, which is a tremendous crowd, tremendous actually kind of card that they had as well. A bunch of named fighters that they had that was really, really good, which was close. I mean, he jumped up in the division at 154, but to make this fight, Canelo's at 168, and I honestly think that if they meet at middleweight at 160, I think it could be very, very interesting. Could be something that's, maybe, a little hairy, maybe you go Crawford, but if it's at 168, 100% Canelo's going to smash Crawford. I love Crawford. I love the type of fighter he is. I love his skills, and I love what he brings to the table, but that's just a too big of a jump up in weight in just a short amount of time, and Canelo's been the king of 168 for a very, very long time. So, the money's there, the name's there, the legacy's there. They're able to come to agreements. I hope that they can come to 160. If they go to 168, I think it's kind of clear who the winner is going to be. But yeah, those are my videos. Those are my picks. Those are the fights that I want. If I was Turki Al-Sikh, if I was Turkey, those were the fights that I would definitely make in 2025, regardless of the fact of them being across the street or not. They need these fights to happen in 2025. Boxing fans, let me know your opinions and other type of fights that you want to be able to see in 2025. Have it name Fabio Wardley, who I believe got that nice KO win. I believe that's who won that fight. Martin Bakoli as well. I definitely want to see him get in some heavyweight discussions. You have Ajay Caballero, who's going to be fighting this year against Zhilei Zhizhang, which would be pretty decent, but he needs more than Zhilei Zhizhang. So yeah, guys, comment your opinions. Like this video if you obviously like the video, and subscribe, man, because boxing fans, we're back here consistently all this year. You know I got you, boys. We're going to stay consistent. We're trying to hit this stride. We're trying to grow this channel into something tremendous, and we will do it all 2025. Thank you guys again for watching again, and peace.